Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Alec Ray and Tam McManus with me here in the studio. Delighted to have your company. Thank you very much for tuning into the show, and don't forget, if you hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, you can come and join the football family. And the good news is, if you hit the subscribe button on PLZ Premium, you'll get all the additional content, quizzes, competitions, giveaways, and the chance for you and a friend to head off to Budapest for the Champions League final, flights and accommodation, and 2 tickets for the match. All you have to do is subscribe to PLZ Premium. And the really good news for us for this season is we've teamed up with our official charity partner, which is Maggie's Cancer Care. And if you want to find out about Maggie's and all the great work they do to help families dealing with a member of the family contracting cancer, then you can www.maggies.org as well. So, lots to discuss. You can give us your opinion on it on our live feed. But with Alec here with us, of course, there's a Rangers connection, there's a European connection coming up as well with Genk. God, he's played for everybody, Tam. He's more clubs than you have. Yeah, well, he hasn't been let go by as many as you, but nevertheless,
I let him go.
Yeah,
that's a touchy subject.
Brilliant, so you did. That's even better.
I was wondering why was he talking to us.
He left you without a name that day. Listen, great to have you in with us. Of course, we're going to talk about Thistle against Celtic. I mean, how does Mark and yourself approach that game, going into it knowing the strength of them and what you're trying to do in front of what is a fantastic home support at Thistle at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a sellout. It was great to see, Peter. I was talking to the guys just in the build-up, the boys on the bench, and I was saying this is exactly the arena you want to play on a weekly basis, and we're trying to work towards that. Obviously, the game played out yesterday. We kind of contained them for a period of time, but the one thing that's evident, and we have a lot of young boys in that squad as well, we've got some senior guys to complement that. But with the young boys, it's a great learning curve, because if you make a mistake or you give the ball away in the wrong areas, they punish you, and that's the difference for the top level players. They'll hurt you in these situations.
Yeah, and of course, the other thing I mentioned, the great support. A lot of these people work hard through the week, and they pay their hard-earned money to go and see Thistle. And some people obviously just swan in what I call the grade A games. And as you can see from our wall behind us, you get people who are hobnobbers, who just turn up for the game, Alec. And that's, of course, Ruffy yesterday, just the king of the castle, Ruffy. We spotted you on the telly, they were highlighting you, and there he is there, hobnobbing and waving to everybody. And that's what you call the starter, main course and sweet course suit that he's got on as well.
That was actually the Celtic first goal.
Don't suffer the wrath of the Thistle fans. You've been in and out that boardroom like a yo-yo.
Like Alec, I thought it was great to see the club, the supporters, the corner and the main stand. They got right behind the team. Great atmosphere, and like Alec, I thought for 25 minutes, very well organised. Celtic were finding it very, very difficult to get through the lines, but eventually they obviously did. But I think, as Alex said, if a couple of academy boys played in that game, Thistle academy boys, which is absolutely superb. Yeah,
and of course, when you look at the overall score, Yang, Scales, Tanecki and McCown, we'll get Alex's thoughts and Tam's thoughts on the performances of some of the players. But here's Brendan Rodgers, obviously talking first and foremost about Kieran Tierney, who managed to get 90 minutes in.
As I said, he's went through a lot, not just physically but mentally. There's a stress on a player that you can never understand unless you've had really bad injuries, and what that does to you and what it makes you think about whenever you're pushing yourself. And when you're young and fresh and haven't got many injuries, then you're just free and you're 100%. When you know that you've been out for maybe periods of time, it can psychologically hurt you. But he's getting over all that, and it's just every day getting better, improving, and today it's good for him to get the 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's the key for him, is getting games, because a lot of people are saying he couldn't last the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's his first 90 minutes in about a year and a half, which is incredible when you think Kieran Tierney's a footballer. I think obviously he was in and out of the team at Arsenal. I think the intensity of the English Premier League, I think it took him out at times, but I think coming up here, getting 90 minutes against Partick Thistle, I think will do him the world of good, and it'll give him confidence, I think, in his body, because he's had a lot of injuries, a lot of niggles, and I think the more 90 minutes he gets, Peter, then the better for him going forward. But yeah, I think he will get better, he will get stronger, he will get fitter. He doesn't quite look the same player as that left Celtic, to be honest. But I think the more he plays, I think the better he'll get.
I think that's what he needs, Peter. I think he needs a run of games.
Yeah.
Because that'll give you that base to work from. And as Tam says, if it's a long time since he's actually had that 90 minutes, it's a case of building that up. And because the one thing we can say about Kieran Tierney is robust. Over the years he was driving past people, so he needs to get to that level of fitness. And that 90 minutes yesterday would have served him well.
Yeah, this is what the gaffer, and of course Alec obviously in there as a sidekick as well. We'll get a little insight into the two of you and the chemistry of it, but this is what Mark Wilson had to say after the defeat.
But this is just a different level of opposition, so we had to take it in isolation, and whatever came through it. I mean, if we came off with some sort of miracle and went through, I wasn't going to think I'm Guardiola. And equally, when we get beat 4-0, I'm not going to think I'm for the chop and everything goes out the window. So, we'll get back to work winning tomorrow. We've already started preparing for the weekend because the league is our bread and butter.
Yeah, that was his overall view on it. I mean, it's like, if somebody was saying to me at the start, by the way, there's two people who are going to come in. One's the manager, one's the assistant. One of them played for Celtic, one of them played for Rangers. Yeah. It's not strange to me because we all kick the ball, play six-a-sides together. But what's it like in the chemistry and what you offer and what Mark has?
Well, the one thing about myself, Peter, I started the old coaching game in 2006, so I've been pretty much round about the block now, various levels, English Championship, abroad, Rangers last year. So it's interesting. I was actually at the top of a ladder, and the phone started ringing, and I was like cutting. Oh, it's Mark. I say, how you doing, Mark? All the very best in your new position at Partick Thistle. And he says to me, how do you fancy coming in as the assistant? So I'm saying, right, okay. And after the Rangers thing, I'm thinking I'm just going to enjoy Portugal and just kick back for a couple of months, play five-a-sides with yourself now, take things easy. And within a couple of minutes I says, do you know what, mate, I'm going to come in, I'll happily come in. And it's interesting because I get sent off twice in my last season against Partick Thistle, so these people don't forget, Ruffy. So that was one of the first things I says, well, why are you bringing him in? And I told Mark about that as well. But I said to the missus, because she wanted to spend more time with us, and after that, because it was so full on at Rangers, and then anyway, I said within it, he says, let me tell you the salary before you agree to it. And I says, listen, it doesn't matter, I'm coming in anyway, because I wanted to compliment. I like Mark, I like him as a person. I've worked him in various different guises, we've played in charity matches, he's a committed character, but I'd never worked with him on a football pitch. He's hands-on, he designs all the sessions, he's very much has a style of playing all that, and I quite like all that about what he does. And as I said to you, I bring the experience from that point of view. I've been round the block, and it's just to complement and help him along the way.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about it is, and we're going to talk about Rangers Genk a little later on, but when you think about the managers that you've played under, yeah, and the managers that you've worked under as well. I mean, Alex McLeish and yourself were out there at Genk. You've obviously had Philippe Clement as well in there. You've had a great mix and a great range. Alec's great anyway.
Yeah, of course. No, and I think that's the thing, is because you get a different style. You obviously mentioned Genk, which is a totally you've director of football over there. He picks all the players and he basically goes, you need to coach these. And we go, well, he's maybe no, he's brilliant. You need to coach him.
Yeah.
So there's a real different kind of approach to things, and it just opens your mindset into different ways of how people work.
Yeah. The one guy who's getting a lot of plaudits from it yesterday, Tam, significantly enough, was Tinekte. He was a real handful for Thistle.
Yeah, he was, and we were just speaking about it earlier. He can go both ways. He can chop on his left, on his right, and I think he's really positive, Peter. I think the Celtic fans have been crying out for that type of player. You've seen Balikwisha in the first couple of games. For me, he's too safe. He's just getting the ball. He's coming back inside, keeping the ball. Celtic fans want to see the wingers getting at fullbacks. Getting at people and creating, and he's done that. He was excellent down at Kilmarnock the week before. And he was a really good game yesterday and scored a goal. So I think he looks the pick of them. I think in terms of him and Balikwisha, I think Balikwisha probably came with a bigger reputation. Playing probably a better league over in Belgium. But I think when you look at here, I think that Tinekte definitely looks a better player. He looks more positive, Peter, and he's one that the Celtic fans I think are right behind already.
Yeah, what did you make of?
I think it's early doors. You know, we are very quick here and you go, oh, 2 games, he's not hit the ground running, and I think we're very much guilty of that. I do like Taneka.
Yeah.
I do like him. I like the fact that he can come inside, and he also likes to link, give and go. So once you get that relationship with the number 9, the little give and goes, he becomes a handful. He can chop onto his left foot as well and flash across the face, and that's kind of evident when you see how with the system that Celtic play. They like to play into little pockets, and even if you look at the first goal, it was the number 8, wasn't it? It was Nigan. Yeah, he's went into the pockets and things. So he suits the way Celtic play. They likes to come inside as well. You've got runners running in behind the back line, and I think you just start overwhelming teams, and I think Celtic do that brilliantly.
Yeah, I think from a Celtic fan's point of view, Ruffy, most of them would have been saying, well, wait a minute, you know, Brendan Rodgers highlighted the fact that he should have been signed weeks ago ahead of that Champions League qualifier, because it was clearly evident that Celtic couldn't get in behind, down to the byline, cut the ball back, get somebody in a goal scoring position over, 3 hours of football.
Yeah, I think it's very evident, the success that Celtic have had has come for their wide players. They get the ball wide as quick as possible and they flash it into the box, and generally Maida, you've got the pace in there, to get that half a yard in front of the defender. So they were lacking that in that European game. So it's just something they have to go on with now. There's obviously a full season ahead, but certainly he was a handful yesterday.
Yeah, what did you say to the boys? The two of you are in there at half time. You know exactly what you're facing, because you've got to try and.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from anything else, you and Mark will know there's a gulf. But what do you say to them to try and orchestrate?
We wanted to be more aggressive. We wanted to try and get more a press at the top end of the pitch. We wanted to put more pressure on the centre halves, latch on to McGregor, and then try and put it. But it went out the window after 50 seconds because they beat the press right away. And that's one of the problems you have is you can go after Celtic all day long as you want. They'll continue to play that philosophy, just try and play through the press. But once they play through that, the actual speed in the transition is very difficult to cope with them because they've got you wide open. So we wanted to be more brave. We created probably more chances in the second half. Like Stanway had a shot for distance, we had a header for Stanway as well, and then with Fitzpatrick that hits the side net and things. So we created a couple of different chances, but the game had already gone by that stage because the goal went in after a minute of the second half.
Yeah, and of course, never too far away from the controversy off the field. The Celtic fans again let the board know exactly how they felt about the last couple of weeks and the disappointment of not making it into the Champions League. And I think it was, to a man, they had banners everywhere saying that they still want 3 significant board members out.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go away, Peter. Obviously you can see it there at the game. They've done it before the game. I've seen Michael Nicholson and another board member on their phones when that was happening before the game, trying to kid on they didn't see it, but I'm sure they're aware of it. I'm sure they're all aware of it, and the Celtic supporters are not going to let this lie, and I don't think it's going to go away. But the only thing that Celtic can do, the manager, the players, is win games. I think the fans are still behind the players and the manager, and I think that showed yesterday. They got right behind the team. You seen it at the end, celebrating with the players, but I think the board are still under fire from the Celtic fans, no doubt about it. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. It
might not go away, but I can't see anything. I still can't see anything happening. I still applaud the Celtic supporters for their right to highlight their grievances. But I don't think anything's going to change. I don't think one person will come off that board, Ruffy, and the Celtic Trust has basically accused the chairman of gaslighting supporters after the statement following the annual results. The results themselves were put out again. Everything is strategically fired out there, Ruffy. 77.3 million in the bank, 33.9 million profit, 143.6 million in revenue, and 42.6 million in player acquisitions, the highest single season investment in the club's history is what they were putting out there. And the comment, as a board we take responsibility for the failure to achieve that key objective, which of course was Champions League qualification, and commit to improving going forward. And that is where again the anger of the Celtic supporters, there's a situation here where they're not going to reply or engage, and I think they will continue just to go along and say, well, let's just continue with Brendan Rodgers getting the results, Europa League games, couple of big nights, keep everybody quiet and they'll all forget about it.
Well, that's what I'll be hoping, but if you look at it yesterday, it was alarming that it was a whole stand. It wasn't a segment, it wasn't a wee group, it was the whole stand was protesting, and that is alarming. So you're hoping that the board get a rude awakening that this can't happen again. That's if you keep getting, you would like the sensible people to say, look, we got it really wrong. This can't happen again. We've got to. And January comes, we've got to be organised. If we're going to be doing something, we need to be seen to be doing it, because you don't want that at a football club, because eventually it does affect the players on the park if that continues for the whole season.
Yeah, do you think it does?
I think if it continues,
yeah.
There's nothing worse than you're going to enjoy a game of football and all of a sudden you run out and the whole stand's protesting. You know, fairness to them, it was only for a couple of minutes, but whatever they did, you know, you would like to think would be get through. I felt sorry for the linesman over on that side, because he just get bombarded with all the bits of paper.
Yeah,
it's twofold, isn't it? You know, the fans have kind of feel as if there's a disconnect with the board, but they're very much behind the team, because I tell you, they were very vocal, you know, during the match. So it's two separate kind of scenarios.
How difficult is it? Because you've been there. You've been in that situation where you know, yourself and Philippe are behind the 8 ball, and it becomes. At times it can be vitriolic, as Russell Martin is finding out, and it's at times vociferous.
Oh no, listen, I've often said this before. I'd played something along the lines of 600 games before I got to Rangers, and the actual scrutiny and pressure is something that I'd never experienced, and I'd been around the club a lot as a supporter, as a boy and things. So you think you know what it's actually all about, Peter, but when you actually have to sample it, and then you can through the moments, it's brutal. And then obviously we're seeing it for the management side, as you mentioned. Last year it's brutal, and you think, gosh, it's a bit OTT. It's really difficult to kind of try and you're just desperate for a result on the pitch. So that can be unforgiving.
We said that last week. That I think that was the main problem with Rangers. There's far too many of the new players have never experienced that. They've never had to handle it. They've never had to go, oh, we're a goal behind here, we need to change this.
The manager hasn't experienced it either. If you go back to whenever he was here as a lone player, he wouldn't have experienced, as you say, that kind of scrutiny and the kind of discontent for the fans than he's sampling now. Because no, obviously came in and it was a part of the rebuilding at that particular time, and Rangers weren't where they were. Obviously they've moved on, 8-10 years ago since then, and now what you're seeing is like, and it's almost a culmination and an empathy, because Rangers fans have been seeing this for several seasons now, and they think this was a new dawn, new ownership, and then what you're getting is like a really, really poor start to the season, and they're making it known.
Can you sense it in the dressing room, Alec, before games?
Well,
can you sense it?
Of course you can. You can actually feel it. You can feel it about the city. And the thing is, it's different days. See, when we were growing up as players, social media wasn't a thing. It's very much in the modern day players are all on social media. There's very few that are not on it. I don't think Russell Martin's on it. He's often said, I don't look at it. So he might be wise to take his cell out of it, because if you get embroiled in social media, you take a brave man. You need a tin helmet on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to say that to you, because you've sampled it firsthand. You're better placed than most. The pressure going into the game against Hibs was intense. I'm not so sure he would have survived it. I think he needed that win just to take the heat off him.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Ruffy's saying, are you aware of it? There was a protest outside the door at past, so when they were doing their team, they would have heard it. It's literally right outside the door. So they would most certainly, I don't know exactly how many fans were there. There was obviously images doing the rounds. And it looked as if there was a couple of thousand there, but you very much know it. Because there's a few times when we let a bad result over the piece, even when I was a player, and the supporters know. They'd be walking past the window, letting you know how bad you were. It was, and they would let the team know, because they know exactly where you're placed.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, Tam, Rangers fans outside ahead of the game, they'd already highlighted to everybody that was going to be the case. And they're out there in numbers, and they want to try and let everybody know exactly what is making them call for the head of the manager and Patrick Stewart. And it's quite simply, results drive everything, and a title race that they wanted to see this year.
Yeah, it does, and it's very unusual to see both clubs, both sets of supporters.
I've never seen it, Tom.
I've never seen it in all my time here. Usually one or the other, one's struggling, one's first, one's second. But now you've got a situation where both sets of fans are really unhappy. So Yeah, I think that would have affected the players. I think the first goal in that game the other night was going to be huge. I think if Hibs got it, listen, we'll speak about the penalty. It was the goal, sorry, from Martin Boyd. It was a handball for me. But if Hibs get that, the whole atmosphere in the stadium changes. Rangers go up the park and score, and then they get a wee bit of confidence and the fans get behind them. But yeah, I think that. Then I think, was it balls or tennis balls or balls come onto the park after 10, 15 minutes, 12 minutes, sorry.
I think it was washing machine balls.
I don't know what it was, but that's not going to help.
I do a lot of washing in the house, so we're bigger than that.
Well, can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I don't one right away. The fact that you know where there's a washing machine in the house is amazing. But the other thing about it was when I was listening to it driving through, and I was listening to the game, and they were saying he's firing golf balls on now. There is not a chance in hell there's golf balls going on, because a golf ball can do you some damage.
I thought it was more like tennis balls and
like
rubber balls and things. I don't think it was that long. But again, it was protesting. That's the thing, is they're trying to make their voice heard. And it just, at that particular time, I thought Rangers were kind of working their way into the game and things. Hibs looked a real threat on the transition, and with Boyle on that, he's always liable to get that goal for you.
Yeah, and of course it just had to be Raskin, because he popped up. As ever, he's got, for such a small guy, he's got a brilliant spring when he jumps, got a brilliant header in there, scored the goal, and it might go a bit of the way towards healing the wounds and whatever was going on behind the scenes with Raskin, the players, the manager, who knows. Russell Martin happy enough that he got that goal.
I just got asked a question about like any regrets and all that stuff. I think probably myself and Nico will feel similar. Like it's disappointing it went on, but also maybe it's necessary for the whole culture of this football club, for the players to understand, for Nico to really grow. But contrary to popular belief, we have a good relationship, working relationship. He wants to play, he wants to win. He did some brilliant stuff today, but like everyone else, there'll be stuff he can improve on as well and really help him and help us as a group. But I'm proud of him today. He was fantastic, and hopefully, like you said, he's for me for us as a coaches, we found a role that will really suit him and help him, and then he'll play in that way to really help the team.
Well, fair play to the manager. He was very complimentary towards them there, despite what's gone on and his inability to select them because of the problems. Robert on our live feed says it's ironic that Nico Raskin may have saved Russell Martin his job on Saturday, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think we would all agree on that. I think if Hibs were to win that game, particularly with a new owner, being in the stand and the protests and everything that's been going on, some kind of decision might have been made. Yeah, we don't know. Every time we hear about it, Russell keeps saying, I've got the backing of the owners, I've got the backing of the board. If he's believing that and they are telling him that, then he might have got more time. But you would have think if Hibs had won that game, it would have given me a bit of an end. Yeah,
and the one thing that you mentioned there, Alec, that we've been talking about time and time again is the mentality of the players, because he's brought in some players. Some of them obviously have got to try and prove themselves. Raskin is one of those players that people know what he's capable of, but you talk about the mentality of them. You'll know better than anybody. It's when you're a player and you've got the mentality, you're in charge of your own destiny. Alec Ray's going out there, he knows the job he's got to do. You played in that side that won on a dramatic last day at Easter Road. You will probably have looked around that team and thought, oh, he's a battler, he knows how to win, he's a captain, he's definitely another captain, and you know the strengths of your team. But when you were a coach with Philippe, and now Russell Martin's finding it, there are some players that just, they don't get it, and had they gone that goal behind, you wonder what effect it would have had on them with that whole all four stands.
Yeah. No, I think... yeah, you could hear a pin drop actually. It was just that kind of delayed reaction for the Hibs fans when they were in celebrating that goal, and it took a wee while for them to actually come to terms, because it looked as if, because he was onside, he ran for his own half, and you think, well, he's definitely onside. So I think in the original viewing, people think this is going to stand here. So they think, but if it would have been interesting to see how they reacted. And one of the things this season as well is they've really struggled to carve out chances. It's not as if they're winning 3s and 4s, which generates that confidence. So going behind there at Ibrox, and with the current atmosphere, it's almost as if people were actually waiting for that. You know what I mean? Because some people didn't fancy Rangers at all at the weekend. I said to the week prior to that, when Hearts were going, I'm thinking Hearts must be going there thinking, right, okay, we've got a real opportunity here, because there's a fragility with Rangers at the moment. And what they need is they need guys like Nico to step up, Tavernier, Suter, so guys that know what it's all about, because these guys that are coming to the club currently don't know what it's all about. They know it's a big club, but until you have to sample that, Peter, and then you have to, and it's doing that whilst you're under the current situation where it's not particularly great, results haven't been kind of free flowing, so it's doing that whilst things are kind of, you're batting down the hatches, there's protests, the fans are discontent. So if they're going to go behind the other day, you would have been saying to yourself, right, okay, we really need to step up here, and then you're looking about and going, who are the guys that could actually make the difference? But I have to say, Nico back in the team at the weekend, he was a real driving force. And I actually thought Rangers struggled in the first half to actually penetrate Hibs as a block. And when I was watching it, and when you watch the second goal as well, it's only when they get runners getting in behind. We talk about Celtic there, they get runners, so whether it's their eights, whether it's their fullbacks, or whether it's their two wide men, one of the three on either side always look to get in behind teams, so they get them stretched, which gives them more space to play. I was watching Rangers play Hibs at the weekend, and everyone was Asgard coming to the ball, Moore coming to the ball, and the one time that they actually get in was the second goal, when Nico chips the ball into Moore, and then he flashes it across the face, and then they get the tap in for Miovski, and that was one of the times. But they need to do that more, because if you keep playing in front of teams, Peter, I think it's easier for teams to defend against, and you don't really create too many chances when you do that.
Yeah, and of course we talked about Martin Boyle getting in behind, and when you see it from another angle, I don't think he had too much disagreement with the decision to award a free kick. And David Gray after the game wasn't complaining.
Frustrated, but I'm only frustrated because of inconsistency. I'm not frustrated because of the decision. I think it's the right decision because of what we're told, that if a ball hits your hand and you gain an advantage for that by scoring a goal, that it wouldn't be given, and you can see that it does hit Boyle on the hand. I think it's completely accidental. I don't think he benefits really from it, other than the way he ran. He was running and it hits his hand. So for them to cut it off is the right decision because of what we're told was going to be. My biggest issue is the same as what happened with us with penalty decisions and the next game week. It's probably just inconsistency, which is a word that's been frustratingly used a lot of late.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the end, your tip for the top goal scorer this season got his all-important goal.
Yeah, I think that if you create chances for Miovski, he'll score goals. I think obviously you get a little bit of luck. I think it was a double deflection across that came in, then it came back off the player, and it just
lands up.
He can't miss. But I think that will give him confidence. I think he's a penalty box striker. He's a goal scorer, and I think that will give him confidence. But I thought David Gray spoke really well there. I think it's easy for him in the heat of the game, aftermath, big decision goes against you. I thought he was very refreshing, very honest there. I think when you see it in real time, you can't really see it comes off his hand, but there's an angle that showed you on the TV, and it does hit his hand, and he goes through and scores. So I think the inconsistency drives all managers, coaches mad. You know, the week before, I think they get one, Dundee United get a penalty against Hibs, which was not a penalty for me. And then the week before that, St Mirren, I think Hibs had won the last minute of the game to win the game, and they never got it. So I think it's the real inconsistency of the handball rule which driving managers mental.
Yeah, and where does it go from here, Ruffy? Is it a stay of execution, or is it a case now that maybe, you know, Andrew Kavanagh and Patrick Stewart and the rest of the board will look and say, listen, you need to give them time. You know, this is one that gets them into a semi-final against Celtic. Give him the time, or is it just game by game?
Well, I think only the owner can answer that one. He's here, I think he's staying for the game. You know, we all know that when things go bad at a football club and the owner's there witnessing everything that's going on, he'll be the one that will make the decision. Obviously, every game now is, you've got to try and win them all, you know, to take the pressure off, not only yourself, the players, the supporters. So he'll be in the stand, and you would like to hope the Rangers get the win, because nobody likes to see managers losing their job. So I think he knows it himself, and I'd like to think the players now know it as well, that they need to keep winning games.
I think it's an interesting thing with the American owner like Kavanagh coming over, because it gives him a flavour of what's actually going on the ground. You know, it's okay sitting over in California, but then when you're sampling it, you're seeing protests and things, and you can get a flavour for what's going on around about the actual building. You can see the day-to-day running of the football club as well. I think it's important that he's here to see this kind of particular period, and then obviously he will make his assessment in time. But the fact that he can go in place, is it the 1st or 2nd of November?
Yeah.
So that's what, a month away or so? So, you know, you're looking at maybe 4 or 5 weeks away. that there's a big game coming on the horizon. If he can get the European campaign up and running and stabilise the league form, he just has to try and build up a body of work that kind of justifies her going in the right direction, Peter. And I think that's what everyone wants from a Rangers perspective, just to see some sort of shoots of progression.
With that in mind, though, Tam, his main focus, getting a result against Hibs is one thing, but now trying to, and there's no point in talking about the great results that Rangers have had in European football. This is a totally different team who have just been on the end of a spanking by Bruges, and they've got to come back now against Genk.
Yeah, and listen, I think it's a game that if Rangers turn up and play really well, they can win. You know, Genk are a good side. I don't think they're a Bruges, but they're a good side. And if they turn up and play well, I think they can win the game at Ibrox, Peter. And they've got Livingston away, I think, at the weekend. Again, as Alex said there, you need to go and win 2, 3, 4 games in a row. You need to go and just put a little bit of run of form together. It just dissipates all the pressure off you, you know, from the supporters. And if they can do that, then Russell Martin might go on and start to turn it around. But as Ruffy says, it's like a game-to-game basis just now. If they get beat off again, he's bang under pressure again, going into that Livingston game. So he needs to put together 3, 4 results, and then he might get a little bit of time to that semi-final against Celtic at the start of November.
Yeah, and with that in mind, European football this week, Rangers Genk, and then I think if ever there's a message that has been rammed home to Celtic fans, Ruffy, it's Red Star Belgrade. Now, whether that floats their boat enough and whether we will see empty seats over the course of this Europa League campaign, only time will tell.
Yeah, I think they're not in the same situation, but they've got to win games, you know, by all the carry-on that's going on behind the scenes, the player situation, you know, not getting into the group bit of the Champions League, you know, the supporters won't let that go away until they keep winning games, particularly at home, you know, and again, you're wondering how long the protests will go on for. So Brendan Rodgers knows that Europe is a big thing for Rangers and Celtic, and they need to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think they'll win? They're away to Red Star.
I think when the evidence, and I know they won quite consistently yesterday at Thistle, it just shows you the levels when you go up, you know. I would think they'd have to play a lot better in some of the stages that they did against Thistle.
Yeah.
I think if they got a draw, they'd be happy with that.
Yeah, and Rangers against Genk. Again, it's one of those situations where when you are watching Rangers when they're at home, the fans can lift them, but when things are not going well, you know, that's, as you mentioned, the whole place went silent with that goal. So suddenly, you know, Genk's one thing, Livingston away, they'll be expecting them to get a run. They'll be expecting maybe this is the chance for Russell Martin to get 1, 2, 3 maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, the European games and the European nights, and I know it's a different group of players, but they can be special. If you start very fast in European nights, it almost kind of galvanises the fans, and you can take them with you. If they are laboured, then it's the other way about, because there's that kind of empathy about the club at the moment, and it's just by performances, how you start a game. If you get an early goal, it can just start that little momentum and kickstart what you're trying to do. But it'll be good. The good thing about the Belgians coming to town is that they try and play the game in the right manner. They try and pass out for the back. They try and play through the lines, and the one thing they do over in Belgium is they try and promote from within their youth, so you'll see some good talent on, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's an interesting run. Genk, then Livingston away, Sturm Graz away, then Falkirk, then Dundee United, Brann, Kilmarnock, and then Hibs. So that's what he's got in front of him. If he can get through all that, then I think he's managed to at least put a lid on some of the unrest. One man who's struggling to do that at the moment is up in Aberdeen, and that's Jimmy Thelin. He's obviously a manager under a bit of pressure now, and he will have had some chats with the board about the results.
And sometimes when you get in this moment, you don't get the result. You have to learn quicker in one way, but still is to keep the calmness and do the things they need to do. And this football is a sport of results. Everybody know that, but still we are everybody on the same page. I have still the dialogue with the CEO Alan and the chairman every day. Nothing has changed in our dynamic. It's still the same focus. How can we be better? We have to try again. What we need to improve. What we need to think about in the future. What can we adjust right now? So that's my job as a manager with my staff, to adjust some parts so we can get the result we need to keep growing.
on those conversations with the CEO and the chairman, if they've given you confidence that you'll get the time to turn things around?
That's why I say nothing has changed. We're all on the same page. We understand that we haven't started the season well. It's only 5 games in, but it's still only 1 point and 0 score goals, and we feel like the performance is not exactly the way we want. But we're working really hard and try and have a clear and open dialogue what we need to improve and focus on the right things to get the results turned around. Thank you.
Yeah, you can understand, Ruffy, why they're starting to look again, the Aberdeen fans, and think, okay, the cup win bought you a lot of grace, a lot of time, but again, it's gone back to that similar situation. You know, prior to the cup, we were all talking about last season whether he was going to get sacked if he'd lost the Scottish Cup. This time around, it's a poor start again, only 1 win against Morton, and the fans are starting to look and think, they've been backed financially. The board have backed them.
Yeah, and so the supporters. I think Aberdeen supporters deserve every credit they get. You know, the travelling they've got to do. They've hung on in there. Obviously, the cup win, you know, gives you that bit of breathing space. But when people start throwing up the stats of what's been happening to them in the league, it's not very impressive. It's been very evident the owner hasn't come out and said anything, you know, so I'm sure there's been some conversation, but there was a lot of spaces in that Aberdeen game from Aberdeen supporters at the weekend, so maybe that's just going to hit its ugly head as well.
Yeah, the other thing about it is sometimes you can be battered over the head by other managers' performances, and you know, if Russell Martin is at the same time as a Derek McInnes, the same time as a Jens Berthel-Askau, and they have hit the ground running, he's had a full season. Okay, he's won the Scottish Cup, but he's now back in with even more good players at his disposal, and we fancied Motherwell before this game kicked off.
Yeah, we did. I just think they're really struggling in front of goals to create chances. I think four league games, no goals. You know, beat at home again. You know, at the weekend didn't score. So I don't think there's been a manager in Aberdeen's history that's been back more financially. You know, the money that Aberdeen have spent has been incredible. You know, they've spent a lot of money up there. Bought a lot of attacking players, and they've just devoid of any sort of creativity in the final third. So I think I read a stat, five wins out of the last 33 league games. You know, for a manager at Aberdeen sitting bottom of the league just now, I think he's under massive pressure. I think the Scottish Cup win has masked the real deficiencies in his squad, and particularly in the final third. And I think they're in real bother, and they've got a tough couple of games coming up. Peter Dundee United away, and then Motherwell away. You know, and that's no 2 games that you're looking for as an Aberdeen manager when you're struggling. So I think he's under real pressure right now.
Yeah, he needs those 2 games like a hole in the head, Alec.
It may actually do him a favour being away from home. You know, as Ruffy says, you know, because of the poor start to the season, 1 in 8 games, you know, it's especially because the thing is there'll be a sense of optimism. So you win the cup and you go, right, okay, it's a fresh start, and then they add a few to the squad, and then you think to yourself, let's get this up and running, and then you have such a slow start, bottom of the league, and as Tam says, if you're not scoring goals, you're thinking, where are they going to come from? So it's important that they actually try and get a win from somewhere, even if it's a scruffy one, Peter, just to try and take the pressure off.
Yeah, and you'd like to see, and this is the thing about it, which especially why we thought Motherwell were going to win, Ruffy. You like to see a style, and boy, Motherwell have got a blueprint and a style.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I only saw the highlights of the weekend, but they certainly like to play it out for the back. You know, they're all confident on the ball. They're getting into dangerous positions, you know, and they are creating chances. I mean, I don't think the past Motherwell teams would create as many chances as what they're creating now. So the style that they're playing, obviously the supporters are buying into it. They love it, building up for the back, and a lot of the players seem confident on the ball. It's very difficult to do that.
Refreshing, isn't it?
It is, you know, to see.
Alec, they're a joy to watch. I've seen them more than a few times this season. You've got midfielders who are brave, who want the ball when there's 2 around them. Then they play triangles. You know, they can go long if they want and do the diagonal switch. They seem to have bought into exactly what the manager has said to them.
Yeah, but I think that goes down to the personnel as well, because you can't just, there's certain players that in previous years wouldn't have been able to cope with that style of play.
Yeah.
So, but once he's actually started implementing that, then he's managed to actually. I remember watching it. Was it the open one against Motherwell Rangers, wasn't it? And I thought, oh my God, how brave is this?
Yes.
But it was brilliant. It was refreshing. But they also had plenty of legs throughout the team, and I thought they're going to do well this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably, Peter, what Rangers fans expected from Russell Martin. The way the Motherwell were playing, Peter.
That's what I expected from Russell
That's
Martin.
what you'd expect from a Russell Martin team. And Jens Askow's obviously not anywhere near the same funds, but they just look well coached. They've obviously got a style of play, and he stuck to it all the way through.
And what about Regan Charles Cook's goal?
Yeah, great goal. He's a good signing as well. And they've recruited well as well, Peter. And I think if they had a real proper number 9 goal scorer, I think they'd be higher up the table, because, as Ruffy says, the week before against Dundee at Dens Park, they should have been 4-0 at half time, and they drew the game. So I think if you're a Motherwell supporter, you're looking at that, you're lapping it up.
Well, not only are they lapping it up, we're going to lap it up in a minute when they hear what the Motherwell manager had to say.
Dream of winning games, because it will lead us to winning trophies. And everyone dreams. I think everyone in football dreams. It's why we're here, of achieving something. Now we've taken the next step in order to be in a final that takes one more win in the cup, and then we'll see who we have to face. There are some really tough teams in the competition still. Dream of winning.
He's got his eyes on the cup, and by the way, more power to him.
Yeah, I think we all like to see some team challenging the Old Firm. We like to see somebody, playing good football and a joy to watch. And you look at the Motherwell support; they've really bought into everything they've done right at the beginning, which is only good for the club as well. But certainly, you've got to show some kind of ambition. Yeah,
it doesn't always work, because Les Watts has said, I played triangle in the school band and I got the sack. So that kills me stone dead. Thanks for that, Les. But the one thing I would say about it is, you look at the players who are brave. You're right. If you can actually get to a situation, as we mentioned last week. Don't ask a player to do what he's not capable of. But when you start to look at the midfield and you start to see the way they want to take that ball, and it's just amazing that if they did have a goal scorer, Mazwanisi's good. It remains to be seen whether they start to, really get up ahead of steam, Alec.
Yeah, and the thing is, I actually quite like his take on things there. He's obviously talking about, because the thing is that, see if the manager's trying to sell that to the players, we can go and win this. So there's a real belief there that they can actually do that, and obviously with the draw of the semi-final as well, they will be getting into that thinking, okay, there's a real opportunity here, and anything can happen in a one-off game at Hampden in the final.
And just in case you haven't been on this earth, here is the draw for the semi-finals, with Celtic against Rangers and Motherwell against St Mirren. It might not be what the sponsors wanted for it, but Ruffy, it's certainly a great chance for Motherwell and St Mirren to now try and book a place in the cup final.
Yeah, I think if you were a player in either of the two teams, you'd be jumping for joy. You get a chance. First of all, you've got a chance to be at Hampden for the semi-final, but to actually get to a final, a lot of these players probably have never been there, probably never been through the front door, so it's something to get excited about. And when you get that kind of challenge, it generally spins off onto the league as well, because every player is trying to get in the team. They don't want to be out of the team. They know that semi-final's coming up, I want to be in it. So that's another, not a problem the manager's got. It ramps up
training, doesn't it?
It does, and everybody.
Boys are off flying about.
Taking people out and everything.
I want his place.
I mean, that's funny. The Universal will take him out.
Exactly. But of course, they're coming up against the St Mirren side that
doing well.
I don't think they're certainly not surprising anybody, because we wax lyrical about Stephen Robinson week in, week out. Because of the football and the way they go about their business, and not only a top 6 finish, but now the semi-final of the Premier Sports Cup, and albeit it was a 5-3 win on penalties, but the 2 goals, Tam, from St Mirren were top drawer, weren't they?
Yeah, they were 2 fantastic goals, and I thought over the piece they probably deserved it, Peter. I watched the game, I thought they were the better team on the night. Penalties, of course, anything can happen, but it's a really interesting clash of styles, I think, in that semi-final. I think Motherwell try and play through from the back through the thirds. St Mirren probably a little bit more direct. Better watch what I'm saying, because they had a go at Chris Sutton the other day for saying they were direct.
Yeah.
But I think St Mirren can play, but they're obviously a wee bit more direct than Motherwell. So I think that's a great semi-final. Both managers, Stephen Robinson's done brilliant for St Mirren. To get to another final would be great for him. And Jens Askow's just come into the club, so I think that's going to be a great semi-final. But
difficult one to call, Tam.
It's two totally contrasting styles. I think St Mirren are obviously more physical. And Motherwell more pretty in the eye, but a great semi-final.
I mean, the thing about it is, it is so tough to call, Ruffy, because of the nature of the players that both managers have at their disposal. On the night against Kilmarnock, you're dealing with the pitch as well, but Stuart Kettlewell has certainly settled in well at Killie. There's one thing that I think I have sympathy for him. You might say Motherwell, St Mirren were the better team, but I have great sympathy for Stuart Kettlewell on the decision that there was no VAR on the night. And boy, it would have intervened in the free kick, Ruffy. It's just an absolute stonewaller, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the clubs make that decision, don't they? I think it's about 10,000 or something to have it on the day, you know, and a lot of the clubs are moaning about it anyway. So you just take your chance.
How can the assistant not see his arm? It's a way out, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think you see the managers now week in, week out. I think most of them are beginning to say, well, nothing I can do about it.
Well, listen, see, the thing is, because the thing is, this is an opportunity, you know, whether they score the penalty is another thing, but that has to be seen, Peter. So you've obviously got the far side linesman, this side linesman, fourth official, referee. Between the four of them, you've got to see that. You've got to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Stuart Kettlewell's not forgetting about it.
No, listen, I probably couldn't find two scenarios to be more painful than the ones we've had in the last 5 days. Last minute penalty we conceded against Celtic to lose the game, and then obviously a penalty shootout. You genuinely can't find two more sore ways to lose a game of football. From that perspective, I feel heart sorry for the players.
Yeah, it's as everyone's said that to me. Martin Foyle always reminds me that I've not had a cup run at St Mirren, so he was here tonight, so thanks Foyle. We've managed to get into the semi-final. But yeah, look, it's a fantastic day for fans. As a staff and players, if you lose, it's not a great day. So we have to enjoy this moment and getting there, and then do everything in our power to try and get another step into the final.
Yeah, it is tough to call if you are, and to be fair, we're talking about the start of November. So many. I don't think we should be allowed. I mean, you're going to be here on Mondays, Alec, but I'm not going to allow us to predict right now, because some clubs, you know, one club could have a new manager, or he might be in there on a run and suddenly Rangers' season's been transformed. So the semi-final for them is tough to call, and then those two teams, St Mirren and Motherwell, you can pick between them.
No, as I said, I think Celtic Rangers, obviously right at this moment in time, Celtic would be firm favourites, but you're right, it's another 4 or 5 weeks away. There's a long time football.
Tim, you say that, but I think it's over a year now since Celtic have actually beaten.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Rangers
have been good against Celtic.
And the one thing about it is and going in, even speaking from when we were there, we just felt as if there was a belief that because you know we hadn't beaten them for a while, so there was a belief that the momentum had changed within these fixtures. Where Rangers were struggling was against the provincial clubs.
Yeah.
So even if you get back to the game a couple of weeks ago, again players are still trying to get up to speed. Some guys are just in the door. Majowski, Ashgard, but also with Celtic, Balikwisha and Dundee.
Yeah, how difficult was it though? I mean, especially if you were inside the dugout with Philippe, how difficult was it trying to, you know, from 1 minute you're up for the big games. You don't need
the European games. That we couldn't. It was see for me. I think I might have done 2 interviews or 2 media gigs directly after getting released by Rangers, and somebody were like, "Well, what was it? What was your overriding emotion?" And it was frustration. And so, see, when I see Russell Martin, I can see he's frustrated because it was. I'm thinking you're going against Celtic, who are, you know, been the top team for years now. And you're actually kind of winning games, you're comfortable within games. And then you go to European games and you're watching them get to the last 16, last 8, you know. So you're looking at that and you're playing against teams that, with the greatest respect to the provincial clubs, is they're better quality players. The performance levels are there. Then all of a sudden you come domestically, and so for me it was a real frustration why they couldn't get the job done against the lesser teams, if you like.
And could I even offer one insight into it, because I hate using this catchphrase because it's very much a 21st century one, but Rangers just couldn't handle a low block. They couldn't handle that sitting in where you needed a player with a trick to get past somebody to open it up in a 2-on-1.
Yeah, and that, see at the particular time when you look at Rangers and Celtic had 2 top players for outside basically. So you'd have Kuhn and Jamesy Forrest, what do you call it, Maeda was off the left at that particular, Jota then comes in as well, and you're thinking, so they had guys at the top end who could change and mix it up a little bit. And even if you go back to yesterday's game against Celtic, when they're bringing players off, it's very much like for like. So I always felt as if they had more creativity at the top end.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, Czerny in his day, and then when we'd Seema, you're thinking, oh right. But we did, obviously Seema leaves, and then you obviously bring in Cortez, who's injured the whole time.
Yeah.
So you kind of lose that kind of. But you're right about the top, the low block, and you're looking at the different profiles of the Celtic midfield three to Rangers at that particular time. Because if you go back to last season, I think Callum McGregor had 6, got 10 goals.
Yep.
Hatate 10 goals. And the new Engels end up with 10, all being the majority were penalties. But at the end of the day, it's still goals. So between the 3 midfielders and the creativity, the runs going in behind, they just had that different dynamic.
Yeah, and Maeda ends up with 33.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but to be fair, that was negated with Cyril, because Cyril ends up with 30 goals, and from that perspective. But I just think the players, round about the main strikers, Celtic had more options.
Yeah, well, we now know the semi-finals. We now know what's going to happen there. From your just a last touch on Partick Thistle. Obviously, Mark will have looked at it with the boys and said, right, that's fine. We can park it. We gave it our all. Came up short. Now that championship, I mean, I tell you, if you're having difficulties calling semi-finals, that championship's a real nightmare to call.
Well, see, the thing is, in the thought process for myself, Peter, when I was actually joining, I was thinking about all the different managers and guys I'd played against. I'm thinking, this league's tremendous. So you've obviously got Scott Brown, you've got Neil, you've Don Cowie up at Thingmay. Now you've got Tony Dock, and then you've got Callum and all that. So throughout the whole league, even if you go to Raith Rovers, you've got Barry. And so it's a real competitive league. And I actually believe that the team at the bottom league, the league can beat the top of the team. There's in any given.
Not much difference.
No, don't get me wrong. I think St Johnstone have a real sprinkling of quality, but when you actually look at the results over the opening 8 games or so, whatever it may well be, there's games that teams are actually matching teams. And I'm talking about teams at the bottoms. So I think anyone can beat anyone. I just think that St Johnstone have the momentum at the moment, and they, again, coming off the bench, I watched them play on Friday night, and that was the difference.
Yeah, but you've had a good start.
Yeah, very much so. No, I'm not
expect to be in the. Does Mark expect to be in the mix?
Well, listen, if we can keep everybody fit, and with obviously the start that we've had before yesterday, it was 8 wins in the opening 10 games, which is brilliant. It's a tremendous start, and it's been a real turnover of players. And I think that's one of the things we can learn from. We don't want the same turnover of players year on year, because ultimately you're just refreshing, and then it's a total rebuild every summer. So ideally you'd like to have little small steps of trying to recruit players who are doing well for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish you well in that. There was one league game that had taken place over the weekend, and that was of course up at Dens Park, where we also thought Dundee would get the win, but boy was it close.
Yeah, it was a good game. I think that over the piece, Dundee maybe just deserved to nick it from judging by the highlights. I heard Dave Martindale speaking after it. He's disappointed with the penalty.
Yeah,
I think I'm putting myself in the striker's position. It's the last minute of the game. You're driving into the defender. You knock the ball by him, and I think you're putting your leg in there and you're hoping he catches you. And I think it's clever for the forward. And I think Danny Wilson leaves a leg dangling. A more experienced player. He's a very experienced player. Would just put his hands up and maybe let him go by him. He leaves that leg in, Peter, and the striker takes the opportunity to go down. So for me, it's a wee bit soft, yes, but I think it's a penalty kick. So I didn't agree with David after the game, saying that it was a jokey decision.
I would have been more angry with the phase of play prior to that, because they're in front of goal, so we had an open goal, and he actually manages to hit the goalkeeper with the ball, and then they go straight up the pitch. I'd have been like, oh my God,
do you know what it had? It had that Watford Leicester feel about it, didn't it? But the one thing I would say is that when he goes into the box at full tilt, when you're watching it at full speed, I just looked around, that's a penalty.
Yeah, but do you know the thing is, and you're right about Danny. Danny's been around the block. He's been all over the place. I think he was in the States and that as well. See, when you dip a toe when somebody's running at that pace.
See him after it, put his hands in his head, Peter.
Yeah, you just have to look at his expression, Danny Wilson's expression.
Yeah, like that?
No, he just knew. He just knew.
Yeah.
So late in the game as well.
Absolutely. But by the way, on the flip side of that, I'm delighted for not for Davy Martin losing the game, but I'm delighted for Stephen Presley, because when you come in, and this is a Russell Martin scenario, when you come in and you're coming in with negativity, as in the fans don't want you there. You know, Russell Martin was not flavour of the month. Stephen Presley, definitely not flavour of the month. And whoever the PR guy was, he should have said, listen, don't be saying they don't like me at the start. You know, just say I'm here, I'm going to give it my all for Dundee. But, you know, I watched the way he set his side. I've seen them a couple of times in the flesh. And he, the first thing I knew he was going to do was he was going to make sure he shut up shop.
Yeah, well organised, yeah.
So they're well organised. They're tight from the back line to the middle's tight. Yep. Then he's got Wesley and he's got Murray. And suddenly those two chip in with the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I absolutely love the boy Murray. See the way he goes about his business, an appetite to score goals, press and hound from the front. That for me is really, it's infectious, it's encouraging. From a playing point of view, and you're right about obviously, and it's interesting. I was listening to the League Cup campaign, and I won't mention the folk that were on, and we're going, oh, the pressure's on already. And it was like 2 games in, and I'm going, my God, it's hard enough a job without actually piling pressure on when you're trying to accumulate your squad. It's early in the season. And you're just trying to get up and running, and people are actually putting so much scrutiny on you very early.
Absolutely, I was delighted for him to get the win. It gives him a chance to settle in there as well. 3-2 against Livingston, and again at that bottom end, who's going to be in there in the playoff? Who's going to be getting relegated? This is how the league table looks. Just in case you were wondering, Aberdeen bottom. If Aberdeen, I might be right in thinking this, Aberdeen. I can't believe it when you're looking to see Rangers in the 11th position. If Aberdeen win their game before Rangers play their league game again the 28th, it could be Rangers bottom of the table, depending on the scoreline from Aberdeen, which is insane.
It's an astonishing league table, if you're being honest. You'd never have predicted that in a million years. You know, Aberdeen and Rangers in the bottom 2. It's still early in the season. You know, if you look at between 3rd and 11th, it's 2 points, so it's a win. There's a lot of teams in there, you know, congested. But I think if you're a Hearts fan right now, you're sitting pretty. You know, they've started the season really, really strongly. And it's not just trying to put daylight between yourself and Rangers. It's trying to stay close to Celtic this season. You know, because a lot of Hearts supporters will fancy their chances this season.
Yeah,
to break that monopoly, Tam, the first and second.
Absolutely.
Yeah, although I personally think the standard of the football has dropped because you only have to look at the evidence of what we're witnessing in Europe, Alec. I think European teams are. The gap is unbelievable. They're playing a different style. May well have even better technical players. But what we are watching in Scotland, at times, you know, there's some teams that deserve great credit. It's a joy to watch.
Yeah, no, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. You know, I think it's a refreshing. It's good to see Hearts with that kind of start, because they're a big club, Peter, and they've got an experienced manager in there. It's interesting. I think one of the key bits of business for him was retaining Shanklin. I think he's a terrific footballer, and you know, he can link. He's matured as a centre forward as well. We know he's got
legs either side of him now as well.
Well, that's the thing is, Tam, he just drops in. He's actually matured. He's actually a kind of cute centre forward. He brings people into play, drops the ball off, flicking in there. He done it against us last year when I was at Rangers as well. He just dropped the ball in. He's just a clever footballer, and I just thought it was a brilliant piece of business for Del to talk him into Stein.
Yeah, a couple of quick things before we finish. The Man City game, when it was 1-1 with Arsenal, in fact, it was the Champions League game as well, with the VAR. This is what happened up on the screen. There's a red card, and it explains to you why Napoli received the red card. It's on the big screens, and the referee gets involved as well. Boy, you know, we're struggling for cash, Ruffy, but I'd love to see that type of information relayed to the fans in our game sooner rather than later.
Yeah, but just gives more to talk about, won't it? You know, somebody being honest and letting us know what's happening, you know, but it'd still be debated, wouldn't it, whether they've got it right or not?
Yeah, well, if it wasn't debated, then we won't be back with you next season. There's no point, really. Thanks for that, Ruffy. AI's coming, we're gone. Just quickly then, Ruffy, 2 massive games. Dundee United against Aberdeen. Boy, he needs a win.
He does, you know, look, again, I saw the highlights and that. Aberdeen are just... There's sort of a knocking at the door. I mean, the big centre-half man, what was he, 4 yards out and he hits the bar. They just need a bit of luck. Yeah. They need something to change.
Are they getting it at Tannadice?
I think I've got a point, yeah.
Yeah, point, okay.
I fancy a draw also.
Yeah, I'm going to go Dundee United to win.
No, I think a draw as well, Peter.
Yeah.
But it's a big game for Hibs as well. You know, there's a wee bit of moaning now amongst the Hibs supporters because of the money they've spent in the summer. and they've been knocked out of 3 cups already in September, which a lot of the Hearts fans are really loving. But I think that's a big game for Hibs as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Hibs to win.
Game. Yeah, I think Hibs will go there and win. I think there'll be goals in it. 3-2 to Hibs for me. I think there'll be goals in that game.
I think Hibs will probably have too much for Falkirk, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Ruffy?
Hibs.
Okay, fantastic.
Who are you going for?
I've gone for Hibs.
Right, okay.
Hibs and Dundee United. And what we'll do is, as ever, we'll just drop each other a wee text as if to say, told you.
Do you know the funny thing is, see when you were kind of saying, oh yeah, we tipped him at the weekend, you've not told us the ones you get wrong? Because you've already said, oh, we fancied Dundee and we also fancied them, but I don't hear it.
We got Hibs wrong. What else did we get wrong? No, we got we got Celtic right as well. Sorry.
Okay, I didn't bother.
You said 7 none.
Brilliant. Listen, you keep your job shut. I'll get Alec to release you from your contract here again. Brilliant. On that note, don't forget, hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and if you really want to get extra additional content, then you can do it on our Prime service. Thank you for listening and watching.
PLZ Soccer Shop. 20 football legends, one incredible collection, canvas, prints, t-shirts. Pele, Maradona, Cruyff, Messi, Ronaldo. Wear them, frame them, celebrate them. From the pitch to your wall, they're yours. The Legends Collection, only at the PLZ Soccer Shop. Click the link and get yours now.
Type of